This is an overview of the Assessment Center experience based on information from primary documents available on the NBPTS website, advice from recent NBCTs, and experiences we have had with supporting teachers through this component in the Candidate Support Program. Please contact Anthony Hamley or myself, Angela Walker, if you have any questions. Our emails will be available at the end of the presentation. Component 1 especially measures the second core proposition, and the prompts will require you to think through the architecture of accomplished teaching. I'm sure you're very familiar with both of these things. They are critically important as you prepare and practice your responses. Assessment Center ensures that you have the depth of knowledge required to be a National Board certified teacher. Try not to stress too much about Component 1. Most people report that it was not as difficult as they thought it would be. The key is to go in prepared and confident. We're going to watch this short video that overviews Component 1.
The four components are really our four biggest jobs as a teacher. It is us being able to prove them and to tackle them in a very reasonable and real setting.
And component 1 measures the content pieces of those standards in a selected response, aka multiple choice, and a constructed response, aka short answer essays.
And you're proving what you know knowledge-wise, right? But so much of that knowledge that's intrinsic, it's inside of you, and it's very invisible.
The way in which they're asking questions in component 1 is to see what you know, because there's the part of the here's your stage and here's what you do, and this is interacting with kids. But to become board certified, you not only are good at this part, but you also have the content knowledge.
There are some parts of the standards that you can arrive at in multiple ways, and it requires time to reflect and type out evidence of how I know those standards.
I think that people worry that they want your answers a certain way.
Yes, it's in a time setting, but there is some flexibility for teachers in the constructive response sections.
So it did take me diving in a little bit to see what are the standards that students are supposed to learn within that content. You could also look at the teacher guides used for state certification.
Read through your prompt, really ask yourself, what do they want me to do? Because if you don't understand that question, what are they asking from me? You could get off on a tangent and never get back to your question.
And look at your content. Focus on the actual standards of your content so that you can then be best prepared. This is my 22nd year as an educator, and I am committed to board certification.
All right, so right here I've included some detail about scoring that I thought you might find interesting. But basically this slide describes the multiple choice section of Component 1. For most, it is 45 multiple choice items, and you have 60 seconds to complete. 60 seconds, that would be a challenge. 60 minutes to complete. Like most multiple choice assessments, it is easiest to rule out the wrong answers and choose the most correct from what's left. Most teachers report that these are pretty straightforward if you know the content, and that there are usually not two correct answers that are very, very similar. In other words, they're not trying to trick you here. This document is found in the Component 1 info for your particular certification area. We're going to look at that resource in just a little bit. It's very good to know as you prepare for the multiple choice section. It helps you know where to focus your studies. The standards, your standards for your cert area are a very important place to start. The other part of your Assessment Center experience is the constructed response section. This is some interesting information about how these items are scored. The most important thing to remember here is that you need to thoroughly address each part of the prompt. That is how you are scored. When I read practice prompts, that is the advice I give most often. When they say thoroughly and completely, they mean it. No rabbit trails, because there's no time for rabbit trails. So here are some really good first steps. The best way to get to the first link on the MBPTS website is to search Assessment Center. It is difficult to get there by clicking, is what I found. These are some basic facts and resources as you begin the assessments or to prepare for the Assessment Center process. Many people do request test taking accommodations. I myself had to do that because I have ADHD. Almost everyone that shared tips suggested watching the tutorial and doing the practice prompts provided in your certification area. So these two links are going to be very important to you. So here's what you see when you go to the Pearson link. This is just information about the testing. And then this is the National Board tutorial. And it walks you through what you're going to see when you're working on the computer to take your assessment, how to click to the next page, how to mark items that you'd like to come back to. So I highly encourage that you take the opportunity to do that. This is the Component 1 resources found on the website. There's your testing window, April 8th to July 15th. And here is where you go to look at the testing accommodations we talked a little bit about, your certificate-specific assessment instructions and scoring rubrics, which I highly encourage you to look at, and then the tutorials and practice that they provide for you. And this is what I'll say right here is, you know, this from this website is going to be what you need to prepare. You don't want to get too far out into online resources because you can't always be sure that they're going to align with what NBPTS is preparing for you. So there's my caution there. There's just a little bit more information I'm going to let you look over for a second. Another good resource while we're right here that I would like to share with you, and I'm not sure if I put the link in here, but it's really easy to get to, is Melissa Shields. She works for our State Department of Education, and she has just been an advocate, a great supporter of National Board certification throughout her career. But she has a Wix page. So if you look up Melissa Shields Wix, this page will come up. This is what it looks like. And she has something for all the component areas. But right here, taking the test, component 1. So she just has this great list of resources for you. Some of them is what I've already shared with you, but there are some other resources that I have not shared with you that she has on here, some other videos, some content-specific things. And I would just highly encourage you to check out this resource as well. Let's get back to the slides. All right. This was a scoring overview that I ran across that outlines how the assessment center score fits into the overall process. So I thought that was interesting to look at. The following 2 slides include tips and reminders from new National Board Certified teachers that took the Assessment Center portion last summer. So this is some information for you from teachers fresh out of the trenches of National Board certification. I polled our new National Board Certified teachers and just asked for advice, guidance, tips about Component 1. So this is probably the most beneficial and important part of this presentation. So I'm going to give you a minute to read over these. I love how they looked at the standards through the application of them and not just learning the standards, but making notes for each standards about what that looks like played out in the classroom. I think that's a great suggestion. And then here's this good advice about the timed prompts and practicing those several times. Some more information about practicing. And I put that in there twice because I was like, well, this must be important, but if 2 or 3 people suggested it. And you can see right there that these practice prompts were very representative of what they saw in the actual assessment. So that's good for you to know. And that's why I said those practice prompts included on the website should be your first go-to. And to be leery about practice prompts from other resources. And again, the standards, talking about the standards. Read them, highlight them. They even suggested making flashcards, because that'll kind of be the foundation that you speak from, that says you are an expert for your certification area. So here we go with the practice prompts. This is how you get there, because the more time you spend on the NBPTS website, the more comfortable you get, but sometimes it takes a lot of clicking to get where you want to go. So I just kind of included here step by step how to get to those practice prompts that the new teacher suggested that you do. And the scoring rubrics are also there. The new teachers also suggested simulating the testing experience using these prompts and doing this many times to improve your ability to completely address the question in the amount of time given. So not just doing the prompts, but actually timing yourself. Pay close attention to the scoring rubrics and what makes the difference between each level. That's what I have people do, is look at that rubric and then look at your response. Go ahead, time yourself, complete the response, and then get that rubric out and score yourself based on that rubric. All right, this is just a brief overview of Component 1, some information we wanted to share with you as you begin to prepare for that experience. If you have any questions related to Component 1 or anything else about the process that we can help you with, this is our email address, and we are happy to help you any way that we can. Thank you so much for participating in today's learning.